Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Hey everybody.
Nice. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, your sound is good.
Nice. Sorry, I had to get my cell phone charger poured out of my car since I'm using my phone for the audio. Sorry about that. I am back.
Okay, we are still missing Councilmember Hanson. And otherwise, I believe all are present. Hi, Michelle, you're on mute.
Yeah, I've been here though. You said you were missing me. I just
Oh,
muted
I'm
myself.
like I said. I meant Carlson. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, welcome. Good to see you. Hope you had a good trip last week. Made it safely back from the mountains.
Exactly. It was very good. Thank you.
Okay. Let me. Sorry, just one second.
Check
Get
with
my. Madam Mayor, what was that? Madam Mayor,
we don't have Councilmember Carlson yet.
Okay.
is she possibly using the other Zoom link again? The old link.
The workshop. Texting me. See, I just got an email from the school district. Take a quick look at that. Okay. And I still don't have Councilmember Carlson on the list. Okay, I got it. Councilmember Carlson's asking for the link to be sent again. Let me get that for her. I just emailed the link again. She requested. Should be. Oh, here she is. Okay.
Great. All right. Well, with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Adam, would you please call the roll?
Mayor
I'm sorry.
Mayor
We were going to do the pledge, weren't we?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yes. Even though we're virtual, I think it's still an important step. So, if everyone would join me in saying the pledge, and now if we stand up, it'll be so. Please join me. Pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to
to the flag
the
United States of
America,
and to
to
the
the
republic
for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And now, Adam, please call the roll.
Mayor St. Ars. Mayor St.
Here.
Ars. Mayor St.
Here.
Ars. Councilmember Carlson. Councilmember
Here.
Councilmember
Here.
Councilmember Hampton.
Here.
Councilmember Hampton.
Here.
Councilmember Hampton.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl. Councilmember Dahl.
Councilmember Dahl, you're muted. Councilmember Dahl, you're muted. Councilmember Dahl, you're muted.
I'm sorry here. I'm sorry here. I'm sorry.
Councilmember
You get to hear me say the pledge. Get to hear me say the pledge. Hear me say the pledge. Hear me say the pledge.
All present.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So that takes us to the approval of tonight's agenda. Does anyone have any questions? If not, would someone like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Connie. Adam, roll call. Adam, roll call.
Councilmember Buckley. Councilmember
Aye.
Buckley. Councilmember Buckley. Councilmember Carlson. Councilmember
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Mayor St. Ars.
Aye.
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 As all.
Aye.
As all.
That takes us to our proclamations, commendations, petitions, and announcements. And for the month of August, the Recycling Award recipient, Yet Aylock at 223 South Fifth Street, will be awarded for her recycling efforts. The funding made possible by a grant from Washington County. Thank you, Ms. Aylock, for your recycling efforts. And also, talk about items that are not on tonight's agenda. And with that, Adam, I would want you to introduce Chris.
Yes, for the public who made it out to join our last special meeting. We did look at going back to excellent hours. We did Anything you'd like to say to the public? Here, please, here, speak now. Speak now.
Well, thank you, City Minister Bill, and Mayor, and members of council, and members of the public. It's an absolute thrill to be here. It's an honor to be appointed City Attorney of Bayport. And as I indicated to the Mayor and City Council, we met in August. I look forward to a very productive relationship working with Bayport for a long time to come, and I'm very excited to be here and get to know the city and the members of the public.
Thank you, Chris and Adam. Are there any other members on the phone this evening or present within our Zoom meeting conference room that would like to address the council? Okay.
Looks like we We do have some guests, Madam Mayor, but any of them are looking for the open forum.
Okay, great. So I'll make sure that if that's the case, to unmute and state your name and address for the record, but it doesn't look like we have any takers this evening. All right. So with Chris on board and Adam as our administrator, and being in Zoom, there's sometimes that there's a bit of overlapping and delay in comments. So just to make the meeting, we have a big agenda in front of us this evening, to make it flow really nicely, I will make sure that I call upon each member of the council to ask their questions or make their comments about the topic at hand. If you want to circle back and have another round, please raise your hand via the Zoom capabilities at the bottom, and we will circle back and make sure that that gets addressed. And Chris and Adam, if I can ask you to bring those to my attention, that would be super. All right. So then that takes us to tonight's consent agenda, where we'll consider a resolution adopting items 1 through 8. The July 22nd, 2020 City Council special meeting minutes, the August 3rd, 2020 City Council workshop minutes, the August 3rd, 2020 City Council regular meeting minutes, the August parables and receipts, the August building, plumbing, mechanical, and zoning permits report, a special event application from St. Croix Preparatory Academy for an invitational cross-country meet at Barker's Alps Park, the hiring of Camden Gopher as a volunteer paid on-call member of the fire department, and a letter of credit reduction request by Madame Holmes for Inspiration 3rd and 4th editions. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or additions to the consent agenda? If not, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion approving tonight's consent agenda.
Thank you, Connie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that goes to John Dahl and Adam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Carlson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Buckley.
Aye.
Mayor St. Orders.
Aye.
Ayes all.
Great. We do not have a public hearing this evening, and our first item is to look at our update to the COVID CARES Act funding under unfinished business. So Adam, if you'd please take the lead on this item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the council still see, the public still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
It should be the CARES, is it the CARES Act fund list?
Yeah, if you could remove your bookmarks, we could see more of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is the CARES Act funding, the CRF has been, since it's been something that's been discussed for this past several months. After the last council meeting, the council asked for some more specifics on what the city has actually incurred and other items that we have kind of in process, and then a better breakdown of other potential expenses. And during our time of trying to figure out what programming and how to utilize the CARES Act funding, I learned from the League of Minnesota Cities, their assistant finance director, Lisa Silva, that because the city did not have a economic development authority in place, that limited our opportunity to give grants to small businesses. We still did retain, because of other legal authorization, we have the ability to transfer money directly to other government entities, such as the school district or the county. Excuse me. And we also have the ability under our the current law to give to other nonprofits up to $50,000 a year, which is what we've done with outside of the COVID. We made a chamber donation in the past as well as our community thread, the BCAL, those types, Youth Service Bureau, those types of community, for lack of a better term, they're basically grants. So with that, we started looking at how else can we get some of the money into the community. And what that left us with, because we didn't have an EDA, it was a little limited. But after discussing with the school and the county as to how best we can do that, we do have a couple different options. I did speak today with Dale Sandstrom from the school. Councilmember Hanson and I spoke to Principal Wilczek from Anderson Elementary. And of course, I've been talking to Attorney Nelson. During this time, the city did receive a proposal that was discussed at the last meeting from Huntington Learning Center from Michael Smith, the regional director, with a proposal to provide tutoring. Sounds like there's some. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. Can everybody hear me okay still?
Yes.
Maybe everybody mute while Adam's speaking.
The city received a proposal for some Bayport students to receive tutoring from Huntington Learning Center from Mr. Smith. And we looked into that a little bit more. We contacted the league and the county, and I just received word back from the school district about that proposal. It really wouldn't, based on my and Attorney Nelson's assessment, it really wouldn't qualify for the CARES funding directly, providing it to the because we don't have an EDA, we're not able to directly fund it to Huntington Learning Center. But I did learn from the school just moments ago that they've been in touch, they've been working with Huntington, and they do utilize Huntington for some of their tutoring. And so they've got a good relationship already established. And so if the school were to have an agreement with them, they could utilize some of the funds if the city were to opt to provide some of the funds to the district. In my discussion with the interim finance director for the school district today, he's relatively, I don't want to say new, but he didn't have a great grasp on how the funding would work, but he was going to go speak to the people on his side and find out some more information. He said that there were he asked specifically about Huntington, if that was something, because I mentioned them, and he wanted to know if that was what the city wanted to do. I asked him, I said, one of our concerns with providing money to the district is the city would like to, prioritize or, give preference to Bayport students. We have the school, not just in the city, but it's actually across the street from the city hall. We have a very close working relationship with the school. Our law enforcement is there, and they work very closely together. So we'd like to keep the money in the community if possible. We can't demand that. We can request it, make our preference known. And he said that the only, not negative, but challenge with that is if other cities or other schools hear that, Bayport's getting additional funding, how come we're not, that can create a more of a political problem for them, but it's not necessarily an impediment for the city. So the information I received just during our workshop from Rachel Larson was that they do work closely with Huntington, and so if the city were to give some funding to the district, they would try to focus on making it possible for Bayport, to keep the money in the community. So I just got that information, but the city isn't really able to give the money directly to Huntington, so that option is not an option for us. But we can do it through this conduit with the school district if that's what the council would like to do. Regarding the actual money, I'll go through just very, very briefly. I'm not going to go through every line item, but I did break down the incurred costs, the scheduled costs, basically in process, and the potential expense is still out there. Just as a reminder, all the expenses have to be spent by November 15th, mid-November. Anything left over from the city's allotment would then be transferred to the county, and December 1st, that money then goes to the state. So the county has a very short window to utilize those funds, but our time frame is basically till November 15th. And as of right now, it needs to actually be spent. That means either invoiced and paid or paid. It can't be, unless there's a delay due to distribution because of COVID, the money needs to be spent by November 15th. So under personnel costs, this is one of the hardest to identify, only because there's funds that are still out there potentially. With the back to school, we do have a couple staff people who are not able to work remote that will be eligible for additional paid, federally mandated paid administrative leave, or federally available, not mandated, through the FFCRA. And we have our unemployment costs that we've already incurred. We don't anticipate any further, but that's always subject to change. The legal advice, that's an ongoing issue, but that's a fairly small amount. The one item that I just want to point out that I brought up a couple times is the public safety wages and benefits. Under the federal guidance and some of the more recent discussion, the police and fire wages and benefits are eligible if the city council deems them to be related, basically from mid-March to mid-November for that time frame. Those come out to about $640,000 for that time frame. It's obviously public safety is a significant budget number. Those figures have not been calculated into any of our incurred or scheduled because the council has not identified as a group that's something that it wants to spend the money on. Our allotment, if you recall, was only 293 total. So we could have spent all of it on just the public safety wages. That obviously is not where we ended up. There are some cities that have done that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but that figure is there. Moving on to the personal protection equipment, that's the things like the masks, the gloves, the shields, glasses. That's a relatively small number. We got a good supply of most of the materials when the pandemic hit. There's some of the discussion that we've had about additional plexiglass shields at City Hall, potentially in the chambers, similar to the county. Those are on there, but again, that's a relatively small number. The cleaning, again, that's in just that under $2,500 figure that the city's already spent. We do have a pretty good supply. It's something that, depending on how long this goes, the pandemic, for everybody's knowledge, which they already know, the City Hall's closed, the library's closed to the public. So it's by appointment only, and we wipe things down, but we're not having to do daily cleaning of every potential surface. We did buy a couple of the hand sanitizer stations, which are the non-touch. Those are a little more, they're more expensive than just a hand pump, but they are being used when we've had people here. Other equipment, so that's a lot of just the basic stuff. Other equipment that we've been looking at, the city did purchase several equipment cleaning sprayers, and these can be used for equipment, seating areas. They're used in our vehicles, both for police and fire. They're incredibly efficient. It takes a separate solution, sanitizing solution, but it's basically a battery operated gun that you can spray down an entire vehicle cab or entire vehicle, seating area, and it doesn't leave a residue. It's supposed to be as effective as hand wiping it, but it makes it much more efficient. Those are $1,800 per gun. So We may want to get one more, so that's on the potential expense, just because I don't know how durable they are. We have two right now. Or I'm sorry, we have three. Actually, we have two, one for police, one for public works and admin, and two for fire. But that could be a potential another purchase, just because we are using them. All the cleaning supplies for those types of things are there. We had a little bit, very minor additional election supplies for the distancing. The individual SCBA for the fire department was on there, and then the individual radios with the microphones, so those don't need to be shared. Those have been ordered. We have not actually paid for them yet, but they are in process. Moving on to the other technology. This was a big one, and this was one of the main intent of the CARES Act funding, was to make these cities able to be able to work remote when possible and provide services, continue providing services through other means than in person. We do have, for the public's knowledge, we bought some iPads for the council to do electronic packets. We bought additional computers for some of the staff. The fire officers each had, instead of going into the fire station to do their reports and work, they obtained some laptops. We did have to pay for the remote software for staff to access that. One of the things so there's additional software, the Zoom subscriptions, the city has 3 of them. Those were all eligible and included. One of the items that you'll see listed on there, which is the council chamber upgrades for distancing. Councilmember Hanson had asked in our previous meeting what those were, and we had additional microphones on the list. That's what that $500 is for the scheduled. I met with Valley Access last week and a third-party consultant to be able to do hybrid meetings. As the council has experienced firsthand, when you have more than one person in a room, you get a feedback loop of the audio, and it makes it incredibly difficult. It's not just Bayport, it's all the cities. Zoom wasn't initially designed to accommodate that type of meeting. But the estimate is between $15,000 and $20,000 to basically purchase new audio equipment that will serve for the future, but that will allow the city to have these hybrid types of meetings where either all or a portion of the council and staff can be in the meeting, and there can be additional, the public or additional council members outside, basically meeting virtually. And you wouldn't have the audio issues that we're currently having. So I just met with them last Wednesday. We were supposed to get a quote by this week, but their rough estimate was between $15,000 and $20,000 for the additional equipment to be able to do that. It's something that I don't think we're going to be going back to. Not necessarily going back to, but I think this is going to become the new standard for a lot of different meetings. I know there's special accommodations made for COVID because it's a health pandemic for not in-person meetings. But I'm hoping that the legislature allows a little more flexibility. Now that cities have demonstrated that these meetings, despite the technological issues that we occasionally have, they can be done. Business can be conducted electronically. And the hybrid really was going to be the best way to do that. There may not be residents who want to come to a city council meeting to participate, but this would allow more people to participate from home, facing potential conflicts with their personal life and still participate more with city business. So that's something that I definitely would recommend that the city do and expend that money to make those upgrades. It will serve the city in the future, as well as during COVID. And again, the website, we're working on making those upgrades. We're going to basically do a complete website overhaul and potentially, or not potentially, but as part of that, it'll be better communication, better usability, online payments, as well as we're looking at adding the online forms and licensing applications. Again, to make everything easier for the public to do outside of in-person. Moving on to other potential expenditures. This was something, so we're almost at the end. The fire department did recommend getting an additional gear washer. Instead of having to wait, it would allow them to wash their gear quicker, turn around and make sure that's clean. That as the installed cost, this has not been ordered, but it's on the, I guess it's not the wish list, but the recommended potential expense list is the $21,000. We're in the process working with our safety consultant to upgrade the locks at Public Works to make them non-touch, which we did it was the very beginning of this year at City Hall, the same type of upgrade, which has been very positive. And then I just put on there, instead of doing a different HVAC system at City Hall, it's just better air filters for our existing HVAC as a potential. I would recommend that. So that leaves the basically non-city funding. And I apologize if it's not entirely clear, but so we've already spent the $500 for the chamber donation on top of the additional, or the regular donation, because that was already budgeted. So that wouldn't have been eligible. But the $500 that we did add as part of the rally in the Valley, that's already incurred. We don't have anything in the in schedule yet, but that's why we're here tonight. And so with the nonprofit organizations that we are eligible under existing law to give additional donations to through our city authority, that leaves us about the just under 45,000. The money that we've already committed to is not part of the CARES funding, but like Community Thread, Youth Service Bureau, the chamber, that comes out of that 50,000 that we're limited to per year. And so depending on what other potential costs that the council authorizes or approves or is okay with, that leaves us anywhere between 140,000 and just under 90,000, the 87,370. So that, and again, none of that assumes that the public safety wages or benefits are included. So that those are basically the two figures that the council has to work with if it wants to give a portion of that to the school district or give it to the county or hang on to, because there are potentially additional changes to the program, which has made this incredibly challenging to start with, or later in the year, anything we don't use again by November 15th will have to be turned over to the county. So hopefully that was a little clearer than previously, but essentially if all the potential expenses that the city, the staff has identified are approved, that leaves the 140 to 87. So with that, I ask for what questions or clarification is needed.
Okay, so let's start. Michelle, do you have additional questions?
I do have some. I guess I was still a little confused by that non-city funding section. Since that's what we were just talking about. So we could potentially give $44,500 to nonprofits. We could potentially transfer funds to other governmental entity. I guess I'm confused by that range there and then what that bottom total line means. So excluding public safety.
I agree, Michelle.
Okay.
I'm confused by those two
just
line
wanna- I guess
items that they transfer to other government entities.
I feel like those should not be part of the picture yet, because that's what we still have to figure out. Like, so what do we really have to work with? I thought I took the 131 and I subtracted it from the 293, but that's not right.
As you said, the total was the 293. Of the 293, the 150 has already been spent. It's been paid.
We've also earmarked 98,000.
That's committed. So that is in, and a big portion, the 77 of that is the radios.
So that's technically spent already too.
Yes, that's been ordered. So that's
98
the one
plus 155 for plus 55.
Yes.
Okay.
So that leaves us either 139,770 if none of the other potential expenses that staff has identified are spent. That's the most. If the council says don't spend any more on anything that we've identified, that leaves 140 or 139. If the city council allows staff to purchase some of those items, if the council authorizes to purchase all of them, other than the public safety, because that was in there. So that's why I said excluding the public safety wages, that leaves just under 90,000 to 87,000.
Okay, so if you add up all of the potential expense column and subtract it from the 293, in addition to subtracting the 153,000 we've already spent, basically, it leaves us with 87,370 to spend. But there's certain line items we may say, we don't want you to get a new City Hall air filtration system, and that would take $800 that we could spend somewhere else. Okay, I think I get it now. Thanks for clarifying that. Because I know you and I did talk to the school district, and there was, in addition to the tutoring thing that we talked about with Huntington, they're also in need of Chromebooks for the kids, which was surprising to both the principal and me. But did you get a chance to follow up on that at all to learn if the school district's actually gonna give them the Chromebooks they need, or?
Yes, during my conversation with the school today, the Dale Sandstrom, the interim finance director for the school, he said he had to check on it. He wasn't clear as to what technological needs are still needed. He did identify that there's the home devices, the devices that they are going to need to send home, are a potential need. He said he would have to check to see what Anderson doesn't have or has. He also said that anything that helps with the distance learning would be, because obviously every other day as of right now, they're doing that. He said he was happy about the potential space accommodation. He said the only challenge with that is whatever space that they potentially use, they would have to have their ground facilities crew participate and make sure that everything is okay with it, that it's approved.
So what you're referencing is like them using the library for classroom space, for example, is what you're talking about?
The library, or even just the outdoor space.
Or even the outdoor space.
Yeah, he said that if they do, we had discussed part of Village Green, if they're going to have a space there, kind of designated. Now, I'm sure the inspection wouldn't take much. They already go to Perro Park, so they've, at some point, unbeknownst to me, they've inspected the spaces they already use. But he said they would, he thought it was a great idea, but they would have to have their facilities and grounds people make sure to come and inspect it to make sure they knew where they were having it. They couldn't just have a teacher take a class out there.
Interesting.
But he said he was going to check. He actually told me to go speak to the principal at Anderson to find out what they need. And I said that we actually already have done that, and we were waiting to hear back additional. But my understanding was that last time we spoke to her, she hadn't heard anything from the district level as far as what they were going to be provided. So it was a bit frustrating to not have that information when I spoke to him today. I don't know. He's the one who's been handling as the finance director, he's handling the CARES funding. But he said that Rachel Larson, is the one who has been kind of doing a lot more of the legwork on additional resources that they're trying to utilize or capitalize upon securing. And so she was the one who had spoken to Mr. Smith. I'm the one who mentioned that. That's him. And so, as I said, I did receive an email from her tonight during our workshop that, anything, they do have a very close relationship with Huntington. And so they'd be happy to take city money to, facilitate that further. Whatever.
So it's interesting, Adam, that it's frustrating for us to try to figure out how to, help the school because of what do they need. And the principals don't even know because they don't know what they're getting from the district. So it's a bit of a mess, which makes it hard for us to try to help.
Yeah, they're pointing at each other. I got it, you take it type deal. And
it's,
I think that's the whole system.
So let's just the clarity is good there on what we're looking at. If we
I still feel like we had left the last meeting hoping to clarify if we did some outdoor classroom space for them at Village Green, what that might look like. I don't feel like we have a good sense of that, other than we could purchase more picnic tables, which would benefit the city in the long run as well. So that's something I think we should put on the table, because I think our city could use more picnic tables. And if it can end up being paid for through this, that would be great. And then the other, just one broad question I have is that $640,000 that has been listed as a potential expense for the public safety wages and benefits. Is that everything that we would have paid, or is it above and beyond what we would have paid because of the COVID? Because it feels weird to take all of those wages that we would have paid and we expected to pay and then have them be, I mean, not that we could, because we only have 300,000 or whatever, not 640,000, but I feel like we need to know what has, and it would be really hard to calculate, but what is the extra that we've had to spend in wages and benefits because of the virus? Because that's an amount that I feel comfortable covering with these funds.
And that, Councilmember Hanson, that's been part of the discussion and at the various levels. And that's why just recently there was some, further discussion on that, because initially the question to that is it only the amount of work that the officer or firefighter was doing abnormally or outside of, because of COVID? And the latest guidance was basically saying it's all just because their entire job is different and every call potentially has, the potential exposure. And for accounting and auditing purposes, they're just allowing, you can just claim all of it. At the end, it comes down to the chief, not the administrator, the chief executive, essentially the mayor and the council. If they identify that these wages are in response to COVID, the city can claim those. We're not able to identify which, out of it 1 hour of police time or firefighter call time, which minutes or which portion of that were only related to COVID. And I think that's what they identified, that it's too difficult to try to parse those out.
I'm surprised they didn't give us a percentage of something, say, well, assume it's 10% of all the wages or something, just to, it feels weird to assume all of it. But
and Michelle, maybe
it's going to bite us later is what I fear, but okay.
So maybe in that thought process of a percentage, you know, and I want to make sure that we're getting to all the council members if, if there are questions, but something that we may want to think about is we have what we've incurred, we have what's planned, so that's that 153 plus. So then, yes or no, do we want to cover the 139 that the staff has asked for, or the net that the staff has asked for in the third column? And then if that leaves 87,000, how would that be spent? Would it all go to a nonprofit, or would it be some of it to cover public safety wages and a portion of it going to a nonprofit? And we could just say we want 30,000 to go to the school district, and then have a detailed discussion on how that 30,000 or whatever that number is gets parsed out. So
that sounds good. I think we're still unclear on what the numbers are, though, because I don't know that it's 87,000 that's left.
Michelle, if we agree to let the city do the extra expenditures, then that's what would be left. But Adam, I have my one question is that 44,500, like you use community thread and the other expenditures. Do we have more of that? So of that 44,000,
right,
we can give to other nonprofits?
Yeah. So the money we already gave to Community Thread, Youth Service Bureau, and the 500 that we had budgeted for in the 2020 budget for the chamber, that money we legally have the authority to take that money to nonprofits. And so that, because they do good for the community, it's under the public purpose expenditure law that we're allowed to do that. And so the 500 that we additionally gave to the chamber, that was under that same authority, but it's COVID money because it was not budgeted. So that was the difference between the 500 we budgeted and the 500 we did not budget. The council the reason that's in there is the council has under law, they can do $50,000, up to $50,000 every year to nonprofit, to these organizations. And so if anything not budgeted that we've already done the budgeted part, if anything not budgeted that the city also wants to give to the community-based organizations, that the balance is basically the 44.5. And so that money out of the either the 139 or the 87, 44.5 of that, it would be eligible for the nonprofits.
So we could give more to those nonprofits, right? Is that what
you want to give $10,000 more to Community Thread? The council has, or whichever, whatever nonprofit, the council already has the authority to do that. So that is potential. That is possible. It's not committed. It's not, it's a potential expense.
But it's the CARES Act.
Because of the other law.
Okay.
So I feel like we have that money to work with as well.
Just a second. So Adam, what is the total of our incurred, our scheduled, and the potential expenses that staff has recommended as a total, not with the extra wages and not with these other nonprofit types of items? What is that total?
The one, let me tell you one.
The scheduled, and the potential expenses recommended by staff. What is that total?
I believe that's what that 131,870 is.
Yeah, it's the 293 minus. It's 206,000.
Okay, so let's go around to the council right now. Does everyone want to cover what staff has recommended as the 206? I feel like we're going to be here for 3 hours if we keep going through it over and over. So is there anything in that 206 that the council just doesn't think that we should cover?
So right now, just to clarify, we're not talking about any of the non-city funding lines, just anything above that.
Right, anything above that.
I am fine with all of that.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Connie?
And I'm good with all of it.
Okay, John and John?
I'm
John
fine
Dahl?
with it.
John Buckley, did you say yes?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you so much. And John Dahl?
Is he on mute?
I hope we didn't.
Yeah, I've been trying to mute because there's so many background noise. Yes, I agree with everybody else.
Okay, so now we have
unanimous.
Thank you so much, John. So now, Adam, we have 206,000 spent. So, and we
Correct.
had 293. So the balance is open for nonprofit and wages.
No, wait, the 206 is just the potential expense. You have to add in what we've already spent.
No.
Right?
The 206
was the
is
206 was everything. Okay. I just want, I'm
everything.
sorry I'm lost in the math.
It's difficult.
So Adam, confirm one more time. The incurred, scheduled, and potential expenses that have been detailed by staff equals $206,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So that leaves us an amount to dedicate to nonprofits of school or other and wages. So let's have that discussion.
And that number is approximately $87,000, right? So we give or take, but just so everybody knows what we're dealing with here, or at least I do.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Madam Mayor and members of council, on the point of nonprofits, I just wanted to add one thing, and it wouldn't be expenses or donation to any nonprofit. The 50,000 mark is for nonprofits or organizations that are dedicated to developing the economic or agricultural resources of the city. You know, one example of that would be a development society like the Chamber of Commerce, but it's not any nonprofit that could get a donation from the city. It either has to be related to that, or there has to be specific statutory authority for the donation. One example is food shelves can receive donations from city. Another example is artistic organizations, but not every nonprofit would be eligible for a city donation.
Yeah,
Thanks
the one
for that clarification, and that makes sense.
That we already participate with. Yeah, so there's a lot of nonprofits out there that would not be, they're technically a nonprofit, but they're not.
Got it.
okay.
So thank you, Chris, for noting that.
So what amount does the council feel comfortable with putting toward nonprofit/school? And we'll figure that out later. And what percentage, if any, do you think should go toward public safety wages? So let's throw them out as percentages right now, and then we can get into the details.
I got a couple questions, Mayor.
Go ahead, John Buckley.
One is the school district. I know we want to give money that would trickle back down to the Huntington, which is a franchise private for-profit business, which I've heard nothing but very good things about the Huntington Center. The other one is, is there any families in Bayport that are financially strapped, or is the school district responsible for getting iPads and laptops to the children? I don't know who's paying that bill. I mean, we're all paying through our taxes for the school district, but I've heard from other parents and even my own children and grandchildren is some of the expenses incurred. They were supposed to go out and purchase these laptops and notebooks, but they waited too long. So the problem they're having now is availability. They're looking at months, if not longer, to get the laptops or whatever to these children. And I was just wondering, I mean, we have in our town alone, we have people that are financially strapped, including, you have people that have been laid off. So if it's going to be a cost burden to these family in our community, I think we should help them out to utilize whatever avenues we've had, which I've sent, I've copied Susan and Adam on that, is take care of our own before we start divvying out or guaranteeing it's going to go to a Bayport resident. I mean, that's, the Huntington is a great organization, but I think under the circumstances, the city, we're kind of in a very bad predicament where a lot of people don't know what avenue to take, which is understandable. But I think to earmark it, I would say, look at what the district's responsibility financially is. And if it is falling back onto the parents of these children, then I think the city should step up and help them out financially. And then the rest of it, or a large portion of it, should definitely go to the food shelf in our community that has been inundated with newcomers and new distribution centers. So I would definitely, it's my 2 cents worth, and I think that's $87,000 is a lot of money. And if we can offset, increasing the taxes or helping out people that are financially burdened by this in our city, I think that should be our number one focus, my opinion.
John, I think that's a great idea. I just wonder, how would we go about, deciding or discovering or figuring out at what point do we find out who these families would be, as I see as a challenge.
And that's, I think, the way why they were pursuing the route of going through the school. But
Correct.
It's a very good point. Chris, that's a very complex proposition. What's your opinion on any kind of direct distribution from the city to residents?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council members, I haven't seen anything that authorizes a government entity to provide direct cash assistance with this money. As far as that is concerned, I haven't seen any Treasury guidance or state guidance that authorizes straight cash assistance, and I'm unaware of any other communities that are providing cash assistance. For that reason, I don't think it's possible. One of the things that was mentioned was the need for laptops for school-age children, understanding that there's a back order. One of the things that's specifically mentioned is expenditures to facilitate distance learning are allowed with CARES Act money. So that might be something that could be explored, but I haven't seen anything authorizing direct cash assistance. With regard to the comment about the food shelf, a food shelf donation is something that could exist outside of the $50,000 mark that we're talking about for nonprofit organizations for providing food for free to needy families. So that's an option that's available that could operate like that to some degree and perhaps fill some gaps.
So if I'm not, maybe I misunderstood or I presented it wrong. I'm not saying give the money to specific families, but we would have to be, and we don't have the board that Adam was mentioning before, we would have to go through a different avenue, which would be the school district. But I would think with the problems they're having getting the electronics, that we should be able to designate money through the school district specifically for Bayport residents. And I don't know if that's doable on their end or the legalities of it, but I think, we got until November 15th, which is a very short window of opportunity here, which I don't know any other way we could get the laptops or the notebooks out to them. So.
Yeah, I want to make sure that if we transfer money over to the school district, one, it does go back to Bayport, and two, that they can actually spend it in time. and it doesn't go back into some other bigger pool. So just
Correct.
would hope that they'd be able to do so. Do you have any, I need someone to start throwing out some proposals of the 87,000, how it gets distributed, just percentage wise. Is there an amount that goes to these nonprofit charities like Community Thread or Food Shelves? Is there a percentage that goes to school, and figure out how it gets allocated? Is there a percentage that goes towards public safety costs that does, hit every Bayport resident's household in our overall tax levies?
I mean, just to do a rough
just to get us in a ballpark, and then we can go up and down.
Like the nonprofits around here, between 4 and 8%, and possibly for the school district, if we can earmark it for Bayport residents, I could see, 20 to 30% and divvy it up. But I would, if we're going to incur some more wages that are specific to COVID, then I would think we would have to put a percentage. But like you say, we have a short window of opportunity here. November 15th is just around the corner. So unless somebody's got some different ideas on percentages.
Well, I agree with the 30% to the school. And I was thinking like, maybe, I don't know, I was thinking like 8 to 10% to like the food shelf or something on that avenue.
Okay, so that would bring us up to 40%, and then 60% where, Connie?
That's a good
do you think that the other bucket that we have is public safety wages?
And I guess maybe I missed it, but was there a figure that they were looking for in that area? A dollar figure?
Who?
And
the staff not looking for a dollar figure for the public safety wages. It's just, I listed it, it's the 640,000 is what, during that time frame, is what both police and fire are projected to spend during the entire eligibility period under the current parameters. We're not looking for a specific amount of that. It's really going to be up to I'm just letting the council know it's eligible, potentially eligible if the council declares it as incurred. And it's a significant portion. If the city wants to, keep the money for city use, that is an area that we've been told it's eligible. We spend it. Obviously, every dollar that we are able to, I don't want to say save or, keep it in the city does have a trickle effect on the bigger picture. This year, next year, I mean, the city is spending money to deal with COVID. So
got it. Okay, now I understand that. I get that now. So I don't know, maybe 50% of it go to that, and maybe we can look at, I don't know, does anybody have any other nonprofit? I know it has to be a specific one like Chris was saying, but another idea, or do we give a little bit, 35% to schools?
So John Dahl, what are your thoughts? Thank you, Connie.
Yeah, I mean, I see the school issue firsthand with, in fact, today was the first time my daughter studied, and I realize it is, I didn't get to take part in it because I was out of town, but it's intensive, the technology aspect of it. And if there are families that don't have this technology, they are going to be left in the dust, and it's a very real big problem. So to me, if there's things we can do that can help the school district out in that way, that's a huge priority for me. Percentage wise, it kind of seems arbitrary to me, but certainly 50% or something. And I'm also very sensitive to the nonprofits and food shelves and things like that. So my lowest priority would, believe it or not, would probably be the city, because I think these other things are just a bigger need right now. So I realize I didn't really assign percentages out there, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
You know,
John Buckley, did you assign percentages? I'm sorry. I think you did. Yours was like
Yeah,
4 to 8%, and then it was 20 to 30%. Connie went up to 10% on nonprofits, 30% school. John Dahl is thinking more in the 50% range towards school. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
Can I interrupt here quick
Sure.
before Michelle is? I noticed on the council packet that the fire department is looking at a new laptop for your training officer, correct, Al? Like
Yeah,
20.
that's been purchased with those funds.
Okay. So, it's from the CARES fund.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
Okay. So Michelle, what are your thoughts regarding percentages? Just to get us in this ballpark area.
She's muted.
You're on mute.
I wasn't saying anything anyways. I'm still, I don't know. It's really hard. I understand, the public safety wages, if we can make a dent in that, it helps all of the taxpayers in the city. But I kind of would like to target the money more since it's about COVID specifically. And I feel like the schools are a high priority because unfortunately, our school system is a little messed up right now. And I feel bad that we have to kind of bail them out because they weren't thinking ahead. But I guess I'm leaning towards a very high percentage going to the schools. I'd probably do 70% schools and then 20% nonprofits and the rest public. What is it, 10?
So do we have okay, so.
I guess, Susan, when I say nonprofit too, I'm leaning toward
like Valley Outreach, like a food shelf.
Food shelf things, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless anybody has a better one, but that's where I'm leaning. I just know there's a lot of families out there right now that.
Yeah, I drive by it and it's busy.
I volunteer there and it's very busy.
So with this, and I understand the whole need for the education. How much confidence do you all have if that money goes to the school district that it actually gets spent in time and on Bayport? Because the tracking seems a little loose, the whole guidance seems a little unsettled, and I don't want to see that money go back and not hit Bayport specifically. So what's your, Michelle and John, you feel the most strong about this allocation. What's your confidence level?
I wish it were higher.
What, your confidence level?
Yeah.
That the money will be spent and it would get back to Bayport specifically.
For me, it's not great, and I will be honest about that. I was really hoping for some specifics from both the school district, Principal Wilsack.
I think Principal Wilsack's in a tough spot because she doesn't know what the district is even giving her yet. Like, she didn't know how many Chromebooks they were going to have. Apparently they're supposed to have, 3 times as many as they do.
Okay, so if
it's a mess.
What if we provide guidance to staff that X percentage is going to go toward the school, X percentage is going to go towards nonprofits, X percentage is going to go toward public safety, and then allow Adam and Chris to go and talk to the school again. We know that the nonprofits are going to take that money and put it immediately to use. We know that our public safety dollars are already being leveraged and used. It's the school allocation, which we all feel very passionately about, but we have reservations. What if we assign these percentages, let Adam and Chris go forward and allow them to either just, come back with a recommendation of how and guarantee that the school district will do what we ask of them, or we bring those funds back and we reallocate them to these other two buckets. I think that's about the best we can do tonight because we have two other big topics to get through, and I'm not sure we're going to have the specifics otherwise. So if that would be the plan, what are we comfortable with? I'm not comfortable with 70% being allocated over to the school. I'm not comfortable with leaving that much out there in undetermined allocations.
I agree. I would base it 50% would be mine, but I'd want at least a 75% commitment from the school district. Otherwise, I would recommend lowering that amount.
So if we had 50% go to the school, what would be, and how do the others feel? Would that be satisfactory or not?
I would be okay with that because of the fact of not knowing, having more definite answers. And I guess I feel like we know that the money that would go to the food shelf or Valley Outreach would go to where we want it to go. I guess that's just how I'm leaning. Not that I don't feel like the school needs it or could use it. I just feel like.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any question that we all think that there are definitely needs that could be very well met with this. But Michelle and John, what are your thoughts? You're very, I know that this is really important to you. Is 50% okay?
Yeah, if that's the most you guys will be comfortable with, then yes.
John, you're on mute.
Oops,
Sorry, that's a step. Yeah, that's a step. I would like to see a little bit more, but I'm not going to, argue over those little specifics. It's so I'm kind of on with Michelle on that, and I think we're on the right path here.
Okay, so we have 50% for schools, and John or Chris and Adam can do exploration there. If they need, if it looks like they need 5,000 more, and we need to take 5,000 from somewhere else, they can come back and let us know. But if we have 50% for the other two, for public safety and for nonprofits, what are your ideas of dividing that? I'm going to start with Michelle.
I guess I'd just split it between the two.
25, 25, 25?
Sure.
Anyone have any other percentages that they really feel strongly about?
I was going to say the same thing as Michelle.
Okay, that's 2. John Buckley, what are your thoughts?
I agree. That's fair.
Okay, and Connie?
I'm okay with that. I was going to go a little more on the one, but I'm fine with it.
Okay, so there's your guide.
I think we have to be specific that it's Valley Outreach, or do we want it to be more than just Valley Outreach? So that they know.
I think that that's my opinion, is they reach out to a lot of the families. And so, and they've done good for years and years and years. So I'm okay with it going.
Okay, I just want to make sure that staff is clear on what we're saying when we say nonprofit, that we mean just Valley Outreach for that.
And
we understand as a council that Valley Outreach serves a wider community than just Bayport, obviously. So
right.
Does Community Thread meet the criteria?
Chris, I'd like you to comment on this, but Community Thread, we currently donate money to, as the council knows, under existing public purpose expenditure law. So my understanding was that they would be eligible. They do promote. They're not like the chamber that promotes the business, the economic development in the city, but for the general city welfare, they.
I was just
go back to
that perhaps. I mean, I know that they do a lot of transporting of seniors and getting them to doctor's appointments, et cetera. I was just wondering if that was one way that they were being impacted with
Well, I can tell you guys from being on the community thread board for 7-8 years that their budget is very tight. I mean, it's not like they've got a lot of wiggle, and they count on a lot of the donations. I guess I wouldn't mind seeing an extra, even if it's not a percentage, maybe a couple thousand go there. They do take a lot of seniors to doctor appointments. They do have people that go and shop for senior. I mean, they do a lot of good, not just providing programs, but they do a lot of outreaching to our senior communities.
So what about
the kids too? They supplied school supplies to the kids.
Yes,
too.
they do stuff. Yes.
So how about of that 25%, maybe 15% goes to Valley Outreach and 10% goes to Community Thread? I'm throwing out again ballparks just to. What do you think?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So Adam, did you get all of that? 15%?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I think we have covered our topic. And looks like staff will have all of the plans, a bit extra for public safety. School will get a nice bump. And two of our very thoughtful and reliable nonprofits will benefit. So anyone have any last comments about that? Okay, thank you so much for indulging me and trying to move the needle forward. So excellent, great compromise and discussion team. I think that was outstanding. So that would take us, I'm gonna move on if there isn't any other further comment. Okay, we're gonna go to our next item of unfinished business, which is to consider proposals for the city's waste hauling contract. Adam, thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As the council recalls, last month there was we discussed having sorry, I gotta make one change my cord here. The city's in need of a new trash hauler. I presented the 3 options at the last council meeting, the regular council meeting, and there were a couple follow-up questions that the council had asked me to obtain information on. I contacted the haulers. Also during that time, Franklin Romack from Republic Services reached out to me to make sure that the council was aware of a few points. I sent those to the council. Several of you replied back. I do know, I'm not sure if you saw, Mr. Franklin is here tonight virtually on the meeting, but the updated information, I'm not going to go through all of the information that we already went over, but a couple of the changes, a couple of the updates. As I said, Republic had made the offer. They asked if it would matter in the city's decision if they offered to have a designated local team for the customer service. They also wanted to make sure that the city, appreciated the 4% rate increase over the next few years. That was something that the council had asked about tennis, and tennis was not able to commit to basically lock in a specific rate increase. Highland did have the 3%, I think it's the 3% waste increase and the 5% recycling increase. But tennis, they just did not feel comfortable with all the uncertainty going on right now of the costs that are out of their control. Essentially, if there's additional recycling costs, or if there's if the county, the taxes change, or if the disposal site, the REC, changes theirs. They did note that 20 cents out of every dollar in their increase is passed on to the customer. Highland did confirm or affirm that they are not able to do Monday hauling. That was something that the council had identified as important last round at our last discussion. So that option is only available from our current hauler, Republic or Tennis. One of the changes that I made for the pricing, just so everybody could see a little more what is actually being charged, I broke up the fees, and so you can see what, if everybody can see the current page, the current fees are listed here, and that's broken up into waste, and then there's recycling. Republic is the only one that charges the recycling processing. If you recall, a couple years ago, that fee was added due to the increase in the recycling situation, the recycling cost situation. And then here's the government taxes. Those are standard across the board as far as the rate. And that's listed here. The county disposal cost, that's just under 35%. And that is only for the waste. And then the solid waste management tax, that's a state figure. That's at 9 3/4% tax. So those obviously vary depending on what the rates are, but the standard is going to be, the rates are the same across the board. And so that gives you for the various sizes, each of them offer 3 sizes. In the waste, so it ranges for next year from 26 for weekly recycling, 26.86 for Republic weekly recycling. That goes down to 23.86 if we only do every other week as we currently have. But both Highland and Tennis offered 2013 and 1950 respectively for weekly recycling on both of those.
Hey, Adam.
One other thing, yes.
I know on here you're referring to everything, the weekly is either 95 gallon or 65 gallon. But on the invoice we get from Republic, everything is listed as 68 gallons. So is there a typo, or is that?
No, that's something that kind of across the board. And I've asked about it. It's more of a class, the size, container size. The pricing, because, and I can't explain it in detail, but the 65 gallon is the same as a 68 gallon. So I guess it varies between hauler and whichever container size they get. But most of the communities include the 65 gallon as kind of the standard for a 65 class. Kind of, I think it's similar to like a TV where it's 55-inch class. I made that up, but that's what makes sense to me. The one change, the weekly recycling. So Republic was offering the 95 gallon for their weekly recycling, which, as you noted, is bigger or larger than currently. Tennis had the 65 gallon, and Highland also had the 65 gallon for the recycling. Sorry, that's not noted. So your invoice, your bill may actually say 68 gallon, but it's their 65 gallon class, the category. Yep. The one other change, there are a couple other updates. Highland, I'd asked for further clarification on the alternative pricing, and in my communication with the council, there really was no other clarification provided other than just the math, which is clear as mud. The big benefit, again, that was explained was just the transparency, and I believe the council actually got a copy of that communication. The price may very well go up, but at least then the customer understands why the cost went up or down or any adjustments. So it's really just for the benefit of, I don't want to say everybody but the customer, but it kind of gets the price increase off of it's not just an arbitrary decision by the provider. There's actual data behind it. It does take time to get this, and there was only one other city that had opted for this. My recommendation would not be to use the alternative when we get to that point, if Highland is selected. I think that it would be lost on most customers, meaning it's a little too complicated for them to appreciate any benefit that they may be receiving. Because as you can see, it's not incredibly clear.
So
Um,
Adam,
yes.
I'm missing you have the recycling bins listed here, but what about the trash? There's a trash bin and there's a recycling bin. Where?
Yeah. So Madam Mayor, over on the far left-hand side, under that collection rates page, there should be, under the monthly cost, there's 3 separate sizes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if I misspoke earlier when I just identified the 35 gallon. I was starting there. Yeah, so those are the 3 sizes that are offered across haulers. And of course, each hauler does offer, multiple carts if you need, or if you would rather go that way. And those additional charges were, these additional cart charges were listed here.
Okay. For instance, it is 31.40. If you want a 95 gallon garbage, it's 31.40, and an additional, let's say that we had tennis for a 65 gallon recyclable every week, it'd be an additional 30. So it's a total of 60.
No,
these aren't price increases. These are, so the current price, for your example, Madam Mayor, it's for a 95 gallon cart this year, it's $31.40.
Is that the garbage? Is that the garbage?
That's garbage and recycling.
And recycling.
That's all of these
together.
Yeah. And tax.
All right. Thank you.
And that's per month. And so then, if you want that same, under the proposals, the same 95 gallon class cart for tennis or for Republic, it will go up to either $36.92 with weekly recycling or $33.92 with every other week.
Okay.
Tennis offers that 95 gallon cart for 2021 at $30.19, and Highland was at $27.41.
So
those are smaller containers.
Smaller recycling containers.
Right.
But the trash container was 95 across the board.
As residents or as customers, are we able to mix and match and choose bi-weekly or weekly, or do we have to go all in one way or the other as a city?
It would be across the board, all residents, all customers would have to be, both Highland and Tennis don't even offer every other week. That is their standard is weekly. So we're currently, as you noted, or as was noted, we're currently every other week under Republic. Tennis is across the board for all their communities. They said weekly, and Highland as well. They do weekly.
Can I ask one question, Adam, just to clarify the recycling container size that we have now from Republic is what?
I think 95.
I believe the standard is 65 gallons.
Because everybody has the same size, don't they? Recycling container?
For the recycling, yes. I know there are a couple of customers who had requested smaller for various reasons. They're still
charged
just
weird.
65 rate.
So they're going to weekly and they're going to make the thing bigger? So it's going from 65 to 95 with weekly recycling? I guess I didn't understand that, but.
That was the proposal.
Okay, but that's true. So I just thought, well, maybe we already have 95. I just wanted to make sure. Oh, Romac wants to know if we want him to answer the question.
The bi-weekly recycling, the 95 gallon would be larger, and perhaps that's what, obviously if that's larger, then maybe the bi-weekly recycling is good enough. That was one of the things that we've received, probably, I don't say the most common, but one of the most common requests from residents is, weekly pickup, or at least more recycling pickup.
So I see what you're saying. So they upped the recycling container to 95 for biweekly and weekly.
I'm not sure where.
Yeah.
Are you sure Adam,
Well-
the bi-weekly recycling from Republic?
Well, Romac can tell us because he's on the
Would be
line.
95?
Yeah.
Is that what your question is?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out under the bi-weekly recycling of Republic Services under the RS alternative, what size is that?
According to the proposal, they just listed the 95
For both?
gallon. Yeah,
Romac is
they didn't
saying
separate
something.
those under the recycling.
It's
If-
96.
Okay, Romac
Romac
just
just
responded.
responded.
It's 96 bi-weekly or
Yeah.
weekly.
Yes, but what is the proposal? Okay, all right, so it is 95, 96, whatever.
So right now we have a 95, 96 gallon one
Bi-weekly, yep.
bi-weekly. And so we're going to be going down, if we switch to a different provider, to a smaller but weekly recycling bin.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that question.
Yeah.
If we switch to Tennis or Highland, the recycling bin will be smaller. It'll be 65 gallons, but it would be weekly.
It would be smaller than what Republic is offering or proposing. We currently
No,
have,
what we have now is what I want to compare it to, not what they're offering. And apparently it sounds like what we have now is a 95, unless I misread what Romac just wrote. He said 96 to be precise, but
They're large. They are
large. Yeah.
Yeah, my yard
But I-
waste is 95. My recycling and garbage is 65.
Oh,
That's what I presently.
I have all three, and they're all 95.
he said that you can request a smaller one. So maybe you did, John Buckley?
No, I've always had the 265s and in the yard waste I've had for probably 4 years. I think Republic's offered it, and that's a 95.
I think mine are both 95s.
Mayor and Council, I've asked Mr. Romac Franklin to respond, just clarify what we currently have and what is being proposed.
Okay, that'd be great.
Because I'm getting billed presently for 268 gallons, 65, and then the yearly fee I pay for a 95 yard waste.
Okay. Is Romac on the phone?
Well, you can
He's
chat.
on.
Yes.
There he goes.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I was typing. Sorry about that. Currently, we provide a 96-gallon recycling cart unless a resident asks otherwise. If they, some residents in Bayport has asked that we provide them with a 65-gallon, and we'll do that. But we provide 96 gallons, and that's what's in our proposal for both weekly and every other week.
And how big is the waste one, Romac? Just curious.
96 gallons. So Adam did a really good job of explaining.
Okay.
It's industry standards that we just use 35, 65, 95. But our 95s are actually 96 gallon.
Yeah, that's fine. I get that.
Yeah, it's pretty rare or odd to see someone with a 94 or 95 gallon, but yeah.
Are the people that request a smaller container, are they billed less, or it's just a standard price regardless of the size?
Yeah, it's just a standard price regardless of the size.
I thought so. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, when you're recycling boxes, trying to get them in that tiny 65, that does concern me.
Oh, I'm not worried. I think you can fold them, but I guess I like weekly recycling regardless. So that's a nice thing to see.
And I'd like to see it stay on Mondays.
That isn't
I
as
would too.
concerning to me. I think we're used to that, but I think we could get used to a different day if we had a provider that was a little bit cheaper and had great customer service.
Yeah, Monday, you're only looking, instead of taking your garbage out Sunday night, you take it out Thursday night.
I understand that. I understand that, John. I do, but I think it's nice to have things cleaned out after the weekend, and
I think we'd all adapt. for me, I know, like, just from having parties, which typically happen on a weekend, you have a lot of mess and stuff to clean up. So for me, it is nice to, just from a personal standpoint, get everything out on that Sunday night after having had, some sort of a weekend get together, and then you're good for the week. But we can adapt. And I am also a strong proponent of weekly recycling. We have a heck of a time. Ours is full every time, and we barely make it every week. We recycle a lot.
I agree. So, all right. So we want weekly. Is there any, does anyone have any real preference here?
I do.
Okay, go.
I guess I'm in favor of the tennis sanitation weekly recycling. We haven't really talked, or their proposal. We haven't talked about the cleanup day. I don't know that we've batted the idea around. I don't know that we're ready to move forward with that. So I guess I would just stick with their basic proposal, and it's the cheapest. And so
it's not the
that's
cheapest.
where I'm at.
Highland's cheaper than tennis.
Yeah, I can't deal with that. Yeah, I should have said that, but that billing just turns me off.
Well, you don't have to do that billing. You don't have to do it that way, John. That was an alternative. They actually give you a straightforward
you're
bill.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but the Friday pickup's a deal breaker for me, and I think a lot of people.
For me, the deal breaker is that tennis won't tell us what their increases are going to be. I don't like that. So I am willing to put up with a Friday, and they also have lower reviews if you read about them online. I'm leaning towards Highland personally, not the weird system, alternative billing system, just flat give us your rate system. But that's my 2 cents.
I've heard very good things talking to other cities about tennis. They've been very satisfied. Oak Park Heights has had them for quite some time. And I do like that they have local support, which would hope, address our customer service challenges. I'm not thrilled that it would be going down to a 65 gallon, but I am delighted that it would be weekly. So I could make that work, but I really do like having Monday pickup. And I think the less change and disruption that we have for our residents in this process, yes, we could all get used to it, but I've lived other places where it's a different weekday, and it's kind of just a mess. Connie, what are your thoughts?
I was going to echo a lot of yours. I guess, yeah, we can get used to it, but I think some people, it's hard, especially our older people, to have to adjust to a different day. And I'm really not in favor of a Friday day. I guess if I'd have to, I would. I'm sorry, I lost the picture for a second, you guys. The screen. And the other thing is, I'm really glad. I need to go with the recycling every week. I think that's great. I guess is my second. Adam, is there any way, for some reason I cannot see, is tennis the second?
Yeah, scroll up a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying, but it's not.
No,
when I did it,
scrolling.
Oh, I was going to say, there. Okay. Because I was going to say, I lost the whole picture before when I was trying to do that.
Right.
Okay, so there, now I can see what I wanted to look at.
So just for reference, Susan and any others that may be listening, because we recycle a lot of cardboard, you are allowed to set that outside of your container. I typically will tape it up as sort of a bundle.
Long as it's bundled. That's what I was going to say earlier. If you bundle your cardboard, you can put it alongside the canisters.
Thank you.
I guess I'm leaning toward tennis. basically because of the day of pickup, you know. I am not sure though, about the unknown, but I don't know. I guess right now, as I stand, I'd go with tennis.
Adam, do we have to sign a 3-year deal? Is that why there's 3 years, like the other 2 years listed?
If you recall,
Okay.
one of the reasons that Waste Management changed their mind and declined to propose is it's a large commitment for the companies, and so they want amount of time to
Ask
have
Connie,
that.
Connie, please go on mute.
So Adam, is the answer yes? It's a 3-year deal. We are
Yes,
planning
it's
to
a
do.
3-year.
Sorry.
If you saw
Could
in
only hear
the
Connie for a second.
recommendation, sorry, if you saw in the the correspondence from Highland, he actually would like to do another 6 months at the end of the 3 years.
Oh yeah, so it's off the
potential
winter
change
cycle.
would be not during the winter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But all 3 of them were they all wanted a 3-year.
So are we comfortable with tennis not telling us what their rates are going to be for a 3-year contract? That feels weird to me.
Well, I guess I assume they don't just blindly, say, well, we decided to move it up to $30 a year, right? That's sort of a negotiation point, right?
What's keeping them from doing that if we sign a contract with them and the contract says it's unknown because things are variable? I don't get it.
What was the response there, Adam? Did they have a not to exceed?
No, that's when they said that for every dollar, the costs that they can't control were the taxes and the disposal costs. Their hauler rates they can control, and if that would be, if you saw that the Highland, they kind of broke out their costs were the 3% waste fee and the 5% recycling fee. They can kind of control those. I flat out asked Kenneth, I stated that, the council has some concern over not having any, completely uncertain, wide open fee for future years. I would like to think, and I haven't heard this in the past, or from any of the other feedback that I've got on tennis, that they, year 2 and 3, they skyrocket. A lot of the cities and the organizations that do use them or have used them have, they've never said that was an issue. But I don't have a dollar figure. The one that tennis provided was for every dollar that the disposal costs go up at the Ramsey Washington Recycling and Energy Center, every dollar that goes up there, 20 cents of that results in an increase to the customer. So that's kind of the model that they use to make price adjustments.
What's Opar Kite's experience as far as their raises, and how long has Opar Kite tennis?
I believe they've had them for almost 20 years, a fairly long time. They've been very satisfied with them. I've talked to the administrator. He's been very, very happy.
So they've been consistent as far as
it's been stable
with the market.
Correct. According to they've been doing 3 to 5 year agreements as well. The more, if the city were to want to do a longer agreement with any of the haulers, I think at any time, if they were able to guarantee, a longer duration of a contract, the prices would probably be more favorable to the city. But that's obviously, with doing a new hauler, that's always a risk.
So how could we structure this so we could make a decision and get and satisfy our need of a not to exceed amount or percentage if they were the candidate of choice? Because I honestly, I think that they should be able to at least say, it's not going to be more than 4 or 4.2 or something.
Couldn't you put in there that per the other haulers industry standard, if everybody's doing a 3 to 4% raise, that we would not accept anything over 0.5% more than the market average, or is that being too restrictive?
Chris, can we do that?
If they're willing to agree to the language, you can put some type of restriction in there. I don't know if we could do the market one, but the idea of not to exceed 4%, if they're willing to agree to that, yes, I see no reason why that couldn't be included in the contract language.
Okay. And do we have to make this final decision tonight, Adam?
I am asking the council to direct staff. We do not have a contract to approve. So the contract would come back in October or before then if the council wishes to do that. But staff does need direction tonight as to which hauler to pursue a contract. I've requested contracts from both because I don't have any from the two that we don't have. We have obviously our current agreement with Republic, but both Tennis and Highland said that they use the county's model, and we've reached out to the county and they are providing other samples that they have, but we have not received those yet.
Okay.
So staff does need, we have some time, but obviously I don't want to wait until it's too late, not too late, but until we don't have time.
Right.
So
right. Yeah.
I don't know what.
So can
I make a recommendation? Do you
sure.
make a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go with Tennis, with the understanding from Chris and Adam that we could possibly look at a cap. And Adam could probably tell me too right now is, what has the typical increase been for Oak Heights from Tennis? Are they tied into a specific amount, or?
Unfortunately, I don't have that. I haven't.
Okay.
I'd have to go back. I want to say in previous year, when I asked last year, so over a year ago, I want to say it was right in that 3% range. If you recall, Republic's increases were prior to the recycling kind of change in the industry, and this last year, obviously, there's additional COVID expenses or changes. Their increases have been in the 2 to 5% range as well. So I think that's been kind of the industry standard. When I spoke with Administrator Johnson, like I said, over a year ago, it was right in that 3% range, which is what Highland is proposing in theirs. So, but I don't have the most this last update. I know they just approved one last year.
I would make a motion. Do we accept Tennis? And the understanding with them they would not exceed 5.5% increase.
5.5 per year? That seems, I think that's high, but are you sure?
Well, if the normal right now is 3%, the other ones in Republic wants 4. 3.5 would be happy median.
Yeah, I thought I heard
you said 5.5 though, didn't you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 3.5.
Okay.
I was going to say.
I think you're quite generous there, John.
Trust me. No, 3.5% would be a cap.
And their basic proposal, John, not the alternative with the cleanup day base price?
That's Highland that has that. not Tennis.
Yeah, that's Highland that has that.
No, there's a PS alternative as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a cleanup day
Oh,
on
the cleanup day price. Oh,
I'd
I
say,
don't like that idea.
yeah.
I like the idea of a cleanup day, but I don't.
Yeah, but
we're
I
not
don't
there
think
yet.
we should. I don't think. No, we can do the cleanup day, but we don't have to pay for it every week. I think
Right.
that it's going to end up costing us more that way than if we just do a cleanup day when we need it.
I would go with Adam's recommendation as far as that alternative, not doing it.
Oh. I think that was the Highland one he was talking about too, but
Okay.
I think we're confusing them.
Okay,
I'm confused.
it's Tennis, the regular.
We're talking about Tennis, the regular one now, right?
Okay. Is there a second on that?
If John's done with his motion, I'll second it. It's good enough for me.
All right. Adam, are you comfortable with that?
I'm fearful that 3.5
clarify,
isn't going to fly, but
3.5%.
yeah, I don't think they're going to go for it.
So
you can offer it, but should we have an alternative so you can? I don't know. I just feel like if others like Highland's doing 3% for waste, 5% recycling, and we're saying they have to have a flat no more than 3.5. And Republic is doing 4. I feel like we're kind of not being fair to Tennis, and they're going to come back and say no. But
so
I feel like 4 might be more reasonable as the cap, but that's.
Or should you just leave it under the discretion of the administrator for negotiating it?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, can we?
But no more than.
I think he would know better as far as yes or no, or would tell him no thanks.
Okay, so Adam.
I'll amend my motion.
Okay, please
to reflect that.
Do I have to second again?
Yeah,
please.
Please.
Second.
Hey, Adam and Chris, are you good with that direction?
I am, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council.
Okay, with some discretion there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Adam. What?
No, I was just going to say, that's what I will be proposing to Tennis, and we'll have something coming back in October is the plan.
Oh. All
First,
right.
we have to vote.
Yes. So, Adam, would you do the roll?
Councilmember Buckley.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlson.
Aye.
Mayor St. Ors.
Aye.
Ayes all.
Okay, very good. Now we're moving right along. We don't have any new business this evening, but we do have our budget presentation for 3 resolutions. The preliminary levy, the preliminary budget, and the proposed capital improvement plan, and announce the public input 2021 budget and levy open meeting at the December 7th meeting. So there's 4 different items that we need to look at this evening. So Adam, please take it away.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the council, I'm going to go to back to the agenda packet. You can actually go to the budget information. I have a quick presentation that I would like to give. It's not going to be the full-blown when I was in. I know everybody's going to be disappointed, but the full-blown budget presentation. So let me do that. The proposed budget is potentially going to change based on the council input at this meeting. We did have a couple budget workshops up to this point. We had one immediately preceding this meeting. And one of the items, just to give everybody a heads up, was the amount of fire equipment capital savings, capital funding that the city wants to designate or put aside. The proposal has $30,000 in, the proposed budget had $30,000 but the council asked to make, what other adjustments can be made, what other additional funding to make sure that future expenses that the city's covered. We have several large items in the fire department that are coming down the line. And just one thing I want to mention for the council at this time is this is year 7 of or 2021 will be year 7 of the 15-year agreement with the other communities for fire service. So we will be reviewing that, and that could have an impact on this fund, the equipment fund going forward. But we deal with the information we have at this time. So the 2021 budget for the rest of the council and the public, obviously the city provides a wide range of services, police, fire, building permits. Things have changed a little bit during the pandemic. We're doing obviously a lot more electronically. We're doing meetings electronically, but we're still providing all the essential services, building permits, inspections. Minspect is our billing official that we just reappointed. We just appointed Chris Nelson as our attorney. All the other services we are providing. Our library, it's not open to the public, but we're providing books and other services, other public service through the library. Obviously, of course, all of our public works, our infrastructure is being handled, as well as all of our public safety. The actual budget, and this does not include the library funds. I spoke with the library director, and we had discussed possibly increasing the levy, but we did not have that discussion never ended up being formalized. So their proposed levy is 175 again. This budget does not include any library budget. They work with the library board, approves their budget, council approves the levy, and it'll be incorporated in the actual levy amount when we get to that. But the proposed budget, so this only includes the $30,000 in fire equipment, was an increase of a 2.23% over last year. That's roughly about just under $75,000. A lot of that, and I'll get to kind of an overview of that. But we did some reapportioning. We did have a 3% wage increase due to contracts with our unions. We had a 4.6% increase in benefit costs, our health insurance for employees. It came out to be a $3.4 million budget. Last year it was the 3.33. As you can see there, it's been relatively flat. It has gone up over the last 6, 7 years. But we have been getting things done. We've been putting more money away in our capital outlay, as well as reapportioning some of the staff costs that were in water and sewer to general fund departments, namely parks. This year also, I spread out my wages and benefits across all the departments except for fire, because of the 3% limit that we have in budgeting due to the fire contract. So there are you'll see some of the departments in the materials that you had in the packet. Some of the departments came down or were almost flat, and some of them went up because a lot of that had the addition of my salary being spread out differently, reapportioned. The levy, this is the proposed levy is the 1,308,576. Now this does not include the $175,000 library levy, but this is just it's a levy increase of $91,000, which is approximately the 7.52%. And the reason for that, we've already discussed some of it, but our decrease in Minspect revenue, it does have a converse effect with the expenditures, but it's not a dollar for dollar. I think during some of our previous discussions, I did not account for the fact that those dollars are not levy dollars to start with. And so some of that department expenses are, but it's not a dollar for dollar offset. So it will be partially offset by decreases in the revenue due to the construction build out. The city also received I'll say a hit. It's not necessarily a penalty, but it's a financial impact, negative financial impact for our fiscal disparity being reduced by just over 32,000, almost 33,000. That is a direct impact to our levy. And that is, I gave the council some information on what the background of the fiscal disparities. It changes year to year. Some years we go up 30,000, other years in this one, we went down 32,000. And basically what that is a credit to our levy. This year, we did have a significant amount being reduced. In the proposed budget, we did not replace the finance officer position with a full-time position. With the recent kind of reapportionment, we are covering most of those duties. I have identified that we do need some additional part-time staff in the admin department. So I did add the one part-time, it's a 20-hour a week position at the office support specialist position. So that is included in the budget. It's a significantly less amount than the full-time position was. But again, I already went over some of this. The other big hit that I just want to make sure everybody knows about, I know as council and staff, we've discussed it, our estimated property values were at 5%. The preliminary estimate that all the residents received and the city received back at the beginning of the year and through the summer was at 5% value increase in market value. Obviously, every time the market value increases, it takes less burden off of the city's actions on the levy. When the actual preliminary amounts came out, the most recent ones, that went from 5% down to 1.1. That's a very significant decrease in market value increases. That's not a decrease in the market value, which is we never want, but the amount of increase that we were planning on did not materialize. That has been adjusted down, and these are for residential properties. But that has a significant impact in our levy amount. So those are the tax rate. If everybody recalls, the tax rate is the percentage of the overall tax payment that just the city's portion. So there'll be the school district, the county, and the city. That makes up your general tax bill, and if there's any other assessments, et cetera. As I noted earlier, the library levy is going to be $175,000 again, and then the city's portion is the $1,308,576, which comes out to the $1,483,576. Ends up being a 7.52 increase in the levy. Which is the tax rate is a 4.6% increase, but it's still only at a 33.1. The tax rate, because of all the recent growth we've had, I don't know if the council recalls, but just since it was up at like 37, 38%, 39% when I started in 17. It's come down every year quite significantly. So the actual tax rate amount hasn't gone back up that high, but it does result in an increase this year because of the way it's working out. What that proposed amount is, it comes out to a $46.74 increase in the median property tax. That's the median valued home in Bayport. So this would be $46.74 increase over 2020. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or go over any specific budget departments. I did provide the council, I think it just went, yeah, so that we're back. I wasn't planning on going over any of the specific line items tonight. I know we've gone over that quite a bit. One of the items that I do need the council to decide is a final amount of the fire equipment, which does have an impact on the levy. For every $10,000 over last year's, so for every $10,000 in increase in levy, it's approximately $675 in property tax for the median household. I can go back to the tax impact statements, which were included in the packet. And this should give a little bit more information. I know there's a lot of numbers here, a lot of figures. This number, this levy, try to ignore the stuff on the left side as much as you can. I'll explain it best I can. The proposed levy with just the $30,000 increase in fire equipment was the $1,483. What that does is this is last year's, or the 2020 median tax. This is the proposed median tax. Their property only went up, as you saw, the 1.1%. So it went from 263,300 to 266. That's essentially the same house for our purposes. If we add 10,000 additional dollars to the fire equipment, that increases our levy to 1,493 instead of 83. And then you go from the 837 to 843. So that 95, so almost 844. That's so that's a total of $40,000 in the fire equipment fund over last year's, or 2020, last year's budget. So this year. And so those are the real dollars impact that the council needs to decide how much additional, if any, we'd like to put aside for our long term. Anything saved today does have obviously an impact down the road, as well as today. We've got some significant expenditures coming up, vehicle replacements in the fire department over the next, not just the next 5 years, but the next 8-9 years. And this is prudent planning. I mean, this is making the investment now because that money grows, and it, instead of hitting anybody down the road at a much larger amount, this is the way cities save money for future purchases. We've been doing this as for quite a while, so this is the way that it's done. It's just how much of a buffer and how we would, if we leave it at the proposed budget. I just want to state this for the council's understanding. If we leave this at the proposed budget, we would need to increase it an additional $10,000 with nothing else changing, $10,000 each year between now and 2029 to cover our current equipment replacement plan. Obviously, things are subject to change all the time, both good and bad. We, of course, will be looking for other additional outside funding for that. But that's the information on where we are.
So what you're saying, the best scenario right now would be the $46.74 increase per year for the medium price home in Bayport.
So what I proposed with the budget is a $46 $46.74 increase for the median household.
Okay, and last year it was what, a $33 increase on the medium price home?
Yes, I don't have that right in front of me. But that sounds about right. I'd have to go back and look.
I know the equipment replacement fund is a very crucial fund to have for a city our size. especially with the price of equipment always going up. I know the tax stabilization fund I've mentioned to Adam before, and even the mayor, along with the, I don't know what you call it now, the 805 fund or the restricted fund. Used to be the
851.
Yeah. Is there any way we could take some money out of there to either stabilize the increase or even lower it from $46 down to $30-some last year?
Councilmember Buckley, that's same as my earlier communication on this. That's always an option for the council. What those funds are, my recommendation would be to, I don't want to say save them, but not spend those yet. One of the things that we do, we don't know. In November, we may find out additional information about our local government aid. So there's still things that I don't think that it's a council policy as to when that threshold is crossed. So it's always within the council. I checked with the auditors this week, or last week, and it's because they're both part of the general fund dollars, they can be spent at any point. As long as we don't spend more than we have, and we don't, the decision when to spend them, that's a council decision. When would it make the most sense? We do want to, because it serves as a rainy day fund. We want to, I would recommend to the council to make sure that whenever it chooses to spend any of it, that it's the right time and not early just to save a few dollars.
Right.
I don't have a perspective as far as, what the difference between $30 and, $46 is on. I know what those dollars would mean to me, but, I can't recommend to go in there. That money does, any expense out of or any use of our cash funds, which essentially that serves as, obviously has an impact down the road. It lowers our potential for investment return, and that money is kind of all just in our general fund, so it does impact the bottom line. It's really, as I said, a question for the council to determine, when that threshold needs to be.
Yeah, I was just curious if it would make that much of an impact, and it doesn't sound. But I agree with you that to keep the money for a rainy day fund, and I have a feeling we're going to be in the same predicament we had back in 2008, 2009, when the state cut 40% of our LGA. So I would probably, for the service that we are getting for the residents here, I mean, a $46 increase on the median price home isn't a bad compared to what we're going through with the rest of the country. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's for what we're getting for it. I think we're in very good shape compared to other communities our size. So yeah, I would, it was just a question thrown out there, but I think what you're recommending is probably the best scenario right now. And in 9 to 15 years from now, when it comes up for the big ticket items for the fire department or public works, I mean, there's always grants available. Hopefully the FEMA will still be around and functioning fully like they are today. So that'll be a financial, life ring for the city. So I think, yeah, what you presented here, it's good, but I'm just kind of looking at different avenues, and I know the other two funds that are there, I think you're right as far as keeping it for a rainy day, which is going to be, so the state comes out with their projection for LGA, December or November?
The next budget forecast is in November. So it should be before our the final approval of the budget in December, the Tooth and Taxation hearing, December 7th. Don't miss it. So the city should we're expecting, and all the cities are expecting to, with the November budget revision, to at least learn the fate of, you know, what's going to happen to the LGA. In the previous couple, I'd say the last couple months, in the more recent, the legislature hasn't even talked about that at all. It hasn't even been on their radar. They've been addressing so many other state issues, both with the CARES funding and all these other, obviously the pandemic is across the board for everybody. So it just hasn't been on the radar. Both the league and the metro cities, and the governor said that he's committed to not, cutting those city funds because he knows how important they are, but he's only the governor. There's a legislature that obviously has a significant role in the state.
I mean, yeah, right now the state's in almost a $3 billion deficit compared to where we were a year ago. Well, we are in a 2-point-some billion dollar deficit right now. Where before, I think after the first of this year, we were a $2.5 billion surplus. So, yeah, I'd be surprised.
They do have.
They don't touch it.
In their surplus funds, their rainy day funds, they do have quite a bit to cover the majority of their deficit. I had heard, but again, are they going to use that now or hold on to it? There's a lot of unknowns. And so my recommendation would be, I don't know that the benefit of, $5, $10 in tax reduction would be worth, dipping into those funds now. We may want it later, but that's, again, as I said, the council.
Yeah, I agree. Once you've explained it that way.
Especially that particular fund, I know that there's a lot of passion around that. So I would definitely want to open that up for community discussion before we possibly went that route. But it's good to always have open discussions and look at every avenue and evaluate. We've been looking at that median number, but the overall tax levy increase is 7.52%. That's going to get some notice. It's not a positive story, even though the overall bottom line is not, any increase is an impact. But this is the preliminary budget. This is the highest we can go. By December, we could reduce it if we felt we needed to. Is that correct, Adam?
Yes. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing this up. I was going to address this in a little bit, but the preliminary budget, the preliminary levy that is set now can be decreased between now and the final approval in December 7th, but it can't be increased. So if the council is kind of wavering on whether or not to, save the addition or put the additional $10,000 or any additional money, I would err on this, not err, but I'd lean on the side of certifying the preliminary levy at the higher figure because it can be reduced. It can be reduced further than what's proposed, but it can't be increased. So yes, we could find out, negative news later this year before the December meeting and reduce it further, or use other funds at that time as well and reduce the levy. We just can't increase it at that time. So this is kind of the one shot.
Yeah, I'm very much a believer in saving so that we don't end up at a later date putting the city in a negative cash position. I strongly believe in saving and not spending where we don't have to. Even if we added that 10,000 into the fire equipment, if we needed to, I'd look for other ways to reduce that 10,000 across the board. That's my initial feeling. But Connie, John, Michelle, we haven't heard from you. Connie, why don't we start with you this time?
Well, I guess I'm okay with, I'd rather start high and then if we have to decrease. So I'm okay with going with the 10,000.
Okay. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure this is the year to set aside that extra 10,000, but if we're just doing the preliminary budget, I'm okay with doing it, and then we can talk further about it. It's already been a pretty long meeting, so we might not want to get into all that today, but I think it's smart to do it a little higher if we need to for now.
I guess that's where I was leaning is
Yeah.
Go up, we can go down. I mean, we can always go down.
Right. And I would say I would probably lean towards let's go down. Like the mayor mentioned, if we do increase it, maybe we can find that money somewhere else that could be shaved off of other parts of the budget.
So Adam, does that 10,000 increase it beyond the 7.52%?
Let me go back to that. The 10,000, it's so this is it's the 7.3
Okay.
total, because the when you factor in the library amount, and because that's not changing, that the overall number is less than the 7.52. I'd have to go back. I can give you that figure, what the actual impact on just the city's portion. It all comes out of, it's all city, library levy, as well as the, so that was we said we wanted the 10,000.
I know our local papers are going to, that's the first headline that they'll run with is the amount of increase. We see that every single time, and then the details of why are typically not explained very well. So I just want to make sure that the public knows those reasons and what we're looking at, and that this can be reduced yet. It just cannot be increased. So
the total amount it goes from, for just the city's levy, just the general fund levy, would be, it's the 7.52 increase with no additional funding. With the 10,000 additional, that does raise it to 8.34.
Okay.
Wow.
Levy just for the city. But when you factor in the library, that's when it goes back down, because the library is a significant amount of money, but it shrinks back to the 7.3. So.
All right. John Dahl, what are your thoughts? You're on mute.
Seems like unless I'm missing something, we're all sort of in lockstep here. I'm not going to upset the apple cart much from where we're at. I kind of trust Adam's recommendations. This budget stuff is always pretty daunting for me, and it's intimidating. And so, I rely a lot on kind of the direction staff aims us and my fellow council members and the mayor to help guide me through this. So
we've done such a good job of holding the line for so many years, and now it's like this may be not a big increase for some other cities, but this, to me, compared to where we've been, is big. So we may need to do some pencil sharpening in between now and December.
Madam Mayor, the one thing I just want to point out, and I mentioned it before, the actual budget increase was only the 2.23.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this year we just kind of, between the fiscal disparity and the property value, it was kind of a double whammy. And then on top of the inspiration build out, where we don't have those dollars coming in, it just hurts levy wise. The actual dollars is actually less than last year, but with the fiscal disparities and the market value increase, that's where we aren't experiencing that this year. So
can you challenge that market value, Adam, or it is what it is? I mean, when they say it's 1.1% increase, I find it hard to believe. the way houses.
And that was across the
selling.
board. The entire county, all the cities are saw similar. Not obviously not the exact same 4 percentage points, but that was across the board, countywide. It was
Washington County. So I'd like to challenge Washington County, whose tax increases have been much larger than ours repeatedly during my tenure as mayor. I'd like to challenge them to decrease the overall amount that they're spending, because we have been keeping ours incredibly low as people have been looking at it. And now, I would hope to see a reduction in my county taxes as well. So I challenge the county to do that, and I challenge other cities to ask the county to do that as well to reduce their budget. That's pretty bold, but I think it's only appropriate. We are delivering services directly to our residents, and I think that other agencies could be sharpening their pencils in advance.
I agree, Susan.
So
hard to argue.
All right. Well, we can wait for the headlines to appear in the paper, but I think we need to vote on this to give ourselves some room to look at this closer and evaluate it over the next 2 months. So
yes, Madam Mayor, there's 3 motions that I need to ask for.
okay.
They should be on your agendas there. If I can give you the amount, if the based on the council was going to go with the additional 10.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well,
so
I guess for the time being, can we, and then like you say, we can always go back down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be the preliminary levy, and then the final levy will be the December meeting, the December vote.
Do the papers write about the preliminary levy or only the final levy?
You can bet it'll be in the preliminary.
It's been a hit or miss.
I don't see too many things that are considered newsworthy nowadays that are not negative. So go ahead, Adam.
Yes. So the levy amount is the 1493576. And the next one, if you want me to give it to you now, it is 3404239. I'm sorry, I apologize. 3414239. And the CIP does not have a figure.
Okay. All right. All right, with that.
I have a question about the CIP. When we get to that resolution, we had some changes to the plan. So do we have to mention them?
Yes, it would be as it's proposed with the workshop that updated the proposed plan. So
okay.
Just as proposed, the council seemed to be in consensus of those changes or those, having staff look at those. So
when someone makes that motion, do they have to specifically mention to include updates from the workshop, or is it just again? Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
Please. That'd be the clearest.
Okay. Well, with that, is someone prepared to make a motion on item number 1?
Give it a shot.
Go ahead, John.
I'll make a motion. The resolution of the City of Bayport, Washington County, establish the 2021 preliminary levy certification for the city's general fund and library fund at $1,493,576.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Connie. Adam.
Councilmember Buckley.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlson,
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Mayor St. Ars.
Aye.
Ayes all.
Would someone like to make a motion regarding the second item, the second resolution?
I will. I move to adopt a resolution of the preliminary budget for 2021 in the amount of $3,414,239.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Adam?
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Buckley,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlson,
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Mayor St. Ars.
Aye.
Ayes all.
Thank you. And resolution number 3.
I'll move to adopt a resolution of the proposed capital improvement plan for 2021 as presented and discussed earlier.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Connie. Adam?
Councilmember Dahl,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlson,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Buckley,
Aye.
Mayor St. Ars.
Aye.
Ayes all. Motion passes.
Okay. And then do we just remind everyone about the public input, or do we have to do anything more than that? Go ahead, Adam.
Yes. No formal action is taken by the council, but I do want to invite the public and notify them that on December 7th at 6 p.m., the city will hold its truth and taxation hearing. That is the opportunity for the public to come and voice their opinion on the proposed budget and levy, and any changes that the council will make between now and then will be finalized at that meeting, and the final levy and budget will be approved. So that's, again, December 7th, first Monday of December, our regular time, 6 p.m. at partially here for sure, and we'll see where else the future takes us, but regular time and place. So look for that information on our website or our notifications.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, then that takes us to City Council liaison reports. And I'm just going to quickly buzz around. Michelle, do you have any updates?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you. John Buckley?
No updates.
Okay. Connie?
No, I have nothing to report this time.
Okay. And John Dahl?
I am in the same boat. Nothing to report.
And myself as well. So we just made up some time there, and we'll move quickly.
Moving through.
We'll move swiftly
Okay.
to staff reports.
Staff is going to go through their reports very quickly. I call on Chief Eisinger to present his report in an expeditious manner.
Madam Mayor, council members, update, the August call volume was 63 compared to 114 in August of 2019. Our year-to-date totals for 2020 is 663 compared to 853. Nothing much further to add, and for the speed of the meeting here, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Chief? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I think Chief Eastman, looks like she's no longer, she may have dropped off the meeting I'm not seeing her. Oh, no, she is there. Chief, I couldn't find you. You have the floor.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I don't have a lot. A couple things I want to share, though. We're currently at 5,897 calls initiated, self-initiated. We can continue to do a lot of extra patrols on 95 with the ever-changing directions and cones. It has been incredibly frustrating, because people come into town and they're driving too fast. which they're not over the speed limit, but it's just too fast for this area. So we know that we're moving the signs around, we're doing extra patrols. Just a little past thank you for the hiring of part-time officer Brian St. Clair. If you went on our Facebook page, you might have seen he had 173 likes. So very popular hire there. So good job with that. Today, I wanted to tell you about a vehicle theft that occurred in the Anderson Windows lot on the airstrip. It was unlocked. There were several cars that were unlocked that had items taken out, and the vehicle was stolen sometime between 6:50 and I believe it was 2 o'clock. So just a reminder to lock your cars, and certainly don't keep your keys in your cars, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, was Anderson Security able to catch anything on camera?
Yeah, they were working on getting video for us.
Thank you.
It's disappointing to hear. Any other questions for Chief Eastman? Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, I just want to add one thing. I know some of the council may be aware of it, but we have had several kudos to the police department recently, some of the officers from the public, which has been good. I haven't had the opportunity to share all of those, but we've had some lost dogs found, some help with some youth in our city. They've been getting some good public interaction. So the community definitely has appreciated our police, as do I. So I know the council does. So with that, next I'm going to call on.
Very good. Well, that's nice to hear, Chief Eastman, and thank you, Adam, for bringing that to our attention. And we welcome our new officers as well. So thank you very much, Chief Eastman. And Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Works Director Klein.
Madam Mayor, members of council, make this quick. Just like take a chance to thank Joanne Sandahl again this summer for helping us out. She's a big part of our summer help, watering and doing miscellaneous work around the city, and she's much appreciated. Just a couple small highlights. I did pass along already to a couple of you about Highway 95. They're going to be working on the median between 2nd and 3rd this week, then mill and overlay next week, restoration the week after that, and start a punch list item list the first week of October. So they're definitely they're back on schedule somewhat, and it looks like they'll be done by their deadline date, which is, I believe, mid to late October. Just a couple other things. Sewer cleaning and televising has started in the city along with crack sealing. And then we've also got ash tree removal. We'll be starting here shortly, ending by September 30th. And then we'll be doing tree planting after that. And also I'd like to thank Sam Schoolman. He's an Eagle Scout who's going to be doing some City Hall landscaping. So look for some changes there on the south side of the building.
Very good. Well, thank you, Matt. And it's certainly nice to see the businesses accessible again. And I know that you were putting pressure on MnDOT for that. So thank you very much.
Yep.
Adam?
Okay, thank you. Assistant Administrator Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. My written report highlights recent work on the Land and Water Legacy Project, an ordinance update on the new law regulating tobacco sales to age 21, conveyance of the outlets to the Inspiration Conservation Easement, and the recent monitoring report by the Land Trust, and the next print newsletter. Otherwise, the only other item to cover is related to canvassing the results of the upcoming general election in November, and 2 items for City Council consideration. The first is whether to reschedule the November City Council meeting back to November 2nd. We originally moved the meeting to November 9th to accommodate the canvassing, but that's no longer feasible. And so the second item is designating a time on the afternoon of November 12th or the 13th to convene a quorum of the city council for the canvass. And this would likely be done by electronic means. So I'll stand for questions and then discussion of those two items related to canvassing the election results.
Sarah, do you need us to provide you with a confirmation on the November date now?
I think based on our conversation between Adam and I, that would be preferred, just so we can plan ahead. If the council is able to do that tonight with their calendars. And then definitely the whether or not to choose the 12th or the 13th also for planning ahead. So if that is feasible, that would be ideal. If we need to postpone till next month, that would be okay too.
Okay. Does anyone have any challenges that they know of right now going back to November 2nd?
Not I.
Check.
I don't think so.
Looks good.
All right. So let's plan on going back to November 2nd. And then maybe we could do a survey for the 12th or 13th. Would that be okay, Sarah?
That works great. I'll just send out an email to everybody to solicit availability, and then we can schedule from there. Just to note too, we only need a quorum of the council, so if there are some conflicts, we would just need 3 to commit to a certain date and time to do that.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Sarah? Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. All right, back to you, Adam.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. My report, I went over most of what we went over already tonight between the trash hauler, the CARES funding, and the budget. Those have taken up a significant amount of time to do. The general status of the city, I'll just talk to that a little bit. City Hall still is appointment only. I'm spending 1 day a week here with the frontline staff, the office admin staff, and the feedback is still positive. The library is still closed to the public other than the curbside. If you saw in Jill's report, they did open up and then ended up kind of pulling back a little bit with the county figures that they've been following. We're trying to ease into it, but there's still a lot of unknowns. And what we're trying to do in the meantime, until we have a better picture of when things will change, is to provide an increased level of service than we already have, or that we already had even. And some of those items that we did talk about, the website overhaul, the electronic payments, using ability to pay by credit cards, really trying to make some of those services available even more than we had them before. Because we think that, we're not getting a lot of feedback that there's complaints, but we understand that the interaction with the city is valuable and that people, have expectations. So if there's something that the city isn't meeting, I would definitely, I don't know how big the audience is right now, but it's for the council though. Even if you guys hear of anything, please let me know. I believe you would, but no, please don't. I don't want to assume anything. I know the council, may think I already know about it. So with that, in the interest of time, I will stand for any questions on anything else that's going on in the city or anything we covered tonight.
Any other questions for Adam?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. It has been a lot of work with these different projects. So, all right. Any final announcements from the council? If not, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Connie. Adam, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlson.
Aye.
Councilmember Buckley.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Mayor Sinors.
Aye.
Ayes all.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Well, am I dog?
Thanks, you guys.
Dog, you're
That
loose.
was your dog.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Adam, are you still there? I have a question.
I
Say,
am.
do you know who a contact person